I grew up back here in the Sandia Mountains. My family came out here in '93 from back east. There's a lot of people in this area who have been living out here longer than we have. The movie that you're about to see takes place in the corner down there between these two hills, a little place called San Antonio de Padua, and it was settled by the Spanish in 1819. People have been coming to a small stream in the area for not just hundreds but thousands of years. In New Mexico's high desert environment, water is a blessing. The spring at San Antonio is an oasis.
Aleluya, cantamos al Señor. Aleluya, 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 cantamos al Señor. Proclama mi alma la grandeza del Señor. Se alegra mi espíritu en Dios mi Salvador. Aleluya, 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 cantamos al Señor. Aleluya, 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 cantamos al Señor.
Tejeres Canyon has always been a major artery that connects the Great Plains to the Rio Grande. In 1763, the Spanish founded Carnuel, an outpost in the Sandia Mountains. The village was built as a buffer against raiding Apaches. The settlement failed, but they managed to resettle further east in 1819. The Spanish called their new village San Antonio de Padua.
That led to more interdependence between the Spanish lifestyle and the Indian lifestyle, and then the Spanish came to understand that the way to survive in such a harsh environment was to adopt the agriculture and the lifestyles in a lot of ways of the Pueblos. So what we're really seeing today in New Mexico is what happened after 400 years of these two very different social structures becoming maybe not one, but more interrelated and interdependent.
There's such a vast amount of history here due to the waters. We've had Indians that have lived here at the time of around 1200. I imagine it was to the surprise of the Spaniards when they came through here, and the Spaniards thinking that they would teach people here about their systems that they learned from the Moors. To their surprise, they were pretty much already established by the Indians here. Just knowing how to use gravity, there was channeling of water that was already done here.
San Antonio's aqueduct system is prehistoric. The Pueblo Indians of LA 24 used it for irrigation prior to 1763.
So when the Spaniards came up, we kind of took over what they had set up and made it a little bit more elaborate as far as Acequia is going to the homes and down in here into the village. Right now, we still use the water. The water is being used for drinking, it's being used for agriculture, pretty much a lot of things that were being used even back in the 1700s. My family came in 1780, the Hinzo family, as so is some of the other families that live here in the San Antonio area. We've got also the Sanchez family that were here back in the 1700s. It was always a good life here. Every year in June, we have our acequias blessed by a priest, and this has been tradition for many years. It helps us also stay as a good community to stay with the old traditions of blessing the water and making sure that these traditions stay alive. The new generations that are being brought up now in our community, we make sure that they don't lose any of the traditions that we do have.
The first church was built in 1845 in relation to the water supply. It was built with rocks from the mountain. The church was linked to San Antonio de Padua in gratitude of the spring's presence. From the mid-1830s until 1880, the only church serving the Cañon de Coru area was at San Antonio de Padua. It was built over the ruins of an Indian pueblo. In 1833, the village had a chapel, but the priest only came once a year. From 1880 to 1940, the area was home to penitentes who took care of the church. In the 1950s, the church burned down. A larger church was built over the original site.
He was also known for his great preaching. We all know about the story when he was preaching to heretics and they refused to listen to the truth. So he turned his back to them and he began to preach to the lake. And from the lake, the fish began to pop their heads out and to stand on their tails so that they could hear the preaching of St. Anthony.
Nowadays, the role of the church is still playing a very important part in the lives of the people here. At one time, there wasn't enough priests to go around back in the 1800s. Back then, the patron saint of San Antonio only got to see a service once a year, and it was pretty much around Christmas time. These days, it's changed. Right now, our church is only celebrating Mass once a month also. That's changed a lot of relationship between us and the people and the Archdiocese. But the fact is, that's a big change. It is quite difficult to have the same celebration, but yet still celebrating is better than not celebrating at all. We're still able to have our Fiesta Mass once a year, and through that we're still going to continue to have the traditions of the Fiesta and the blessing of the Acequias. As long as we continue the customs through generation to generation, we should prevail on this.
Today we dance the Matachina dance in honor of Saint Anthony. My role is what they call is the abuelo, which is the leader of the Matachines. This particular dance came in from Spain.
Los Matachines' origins can be traced to the time when the Moors were expelled from Spain. The struggle against the Moors started in 711 AD and continued for 780 years. In 1492, the last Moorish strongholds were taken by the Christians at Granada.
This is what the Spaniards dance when they vanquished the Moors from Spain, and they danced this as a Thanksgiving. And when the Spaniards came into New Mexico, the Padres brought this dance with them. And it's been danced the same way as they danced it in Spain. So it hasn't changed.
But then it goes even back further. It goes back to where the Aztecs had several dances similar to what we have.
Masks are those are the what do you call it? The soldiers' helmets that when the soldiers went to war, the helmets as the Spaniards dance, they were pointed. And the color that they use, the ribbons. If you remember in school, let's say they said that when the soldiers went to war, they wore a colored ribbon to remind them of their loved ones at home. See, the picture of Our Lady of Guadalupe that we wear on our backs is the same emblem like they would say that the Spaniards took. We've adopted Our Lady of Guadalupe as our emblems.
You guys are too low.
Now we take it up to the spring to have it blessed. The spring is a necessity for the villagers, the only water they have.
One thing that plays an important part with this water is the blessing. As most of us were brought up Catholic.
As a vessel filled with water, we were filled with grace. We especially thank God for his blessings of water, because as all living things, we need water. We need pure, fresh water.
You always see people that actually get choked up and are also very happy and willing to be part of the dancers that have to go and bless the water.
May we be reminded of God's abundance of our blessings when we look upon this water. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So let us consider our need for clean, pure water.
Once the stream dried up, the villagers prayed to St. Anthony. Just as they were packing up to head to Albuquerque, the stream started up again.
Many tests are done with this water through the federal government. At one time it was tested for quality and possibly ranked within 10 of the best water in the United States. Right now we have many classes that come up here and study the water. They study it for what actually is found in the water as far as insects. Many of these insects that they do find are very sensitive and require living in just a high grade of water.
We test for macrobenthic invertebrates, which are the aquatic insects that live in the stream and that are indicators of health. We have found that there are a lot of animals that live there that are sensitive to pollution, and so that tells us that we have pretty clean water. We also do chemistry. We look at nitrates and phosphates and phosphorus. We look at pH and turbidity and a whole ramification of different things that tell us about the water quality as well. And we have seen so far that the water is pretty clean.
We have quite a few families that drink the water, including myself. Many foods seem to even taste better with just the cooking of this water.
The kitchens of San Antonio had running water in an era before indoor plumbing was common. Pablo Crespin piped spring water into his kitchen during the 1860s and the 1870s.
No matter how pristine it is, it still supports lots of life.
You have animals that have their food, shelter, and water all in one spot. Bears are very common.
The people here have learned to live with a bear, as we have for hundreds of years.
We've lived up here along the Ojo Grande for 26 years. And we just love living here. We have so much wildlife. We have everything that comes through: bears, mountain lions, you name it.
We have turkey.
Raccoons.
We have ringtail cats. We have occasional elk that come down from the high country.
It's also a birding hot spot.
It's just a wonderful place to live. I love this area of the stream because it's cascading down, and we can hear it. We can hear it from our at night when we're in bed. We can hear the stream, and water is just such a blessing in New Mexico. And so we feel really fortunate, and we do our best to protect it.
We actually have 3 forest types at Ojito. We have a pinon juniper forest, which is the most predominant. We also, because of those acequias, those streams, have a riparian area. And then what makes this property very unique, aside from the water aspect, is that there's an old orchard there as well that provides lots of apples. And so we have an orchard forest area.
This was also our medicine chest. A lot of these plants that you see along the acequia were used for medicinal purposes, and we still use them to this day. So we really look at this piece of land as a treasure for us.
This scarf, this symbolizes the 4 directions. It's a prayer to give thanks, like to the south, to the east, to the west, and to the north. The east represents the sunrise, the west, rain, the north is our ancestors, and the south is our friends. This is an old tradition with a sumador. And I've got copal and sage. I've been doing it for about 20 years. And I work with some herbs also in the healing. Like I use sweetgrass, I use sage, I use copal. My grandmother on my dad's side, she was Navajo, and I grew up with her. So I follow some of her traditions. Because I want to keep her in my heart too, all my ancestors. I call them true curanderas because their homes were very simplified. They did everything themselves. They went out and they picked their own herbs and they did their own remedies, and took their time. They were not in a hurry. Usually the history of a curandera is people came to their house and get a remedy or a healing done, and the curandera would get paid either with chicken or beans or something like that. Here, when I was blessing the water and the acequia here, I was praying for it to stay as beautiful as it is. Mines are very silent. Words are sometimes not even coming out of my mouth, but they're in my spirit. It's mostly my spirit that's in the meditation of what I'm doing.
Tell me your name.
Belle
Belle what?
Sanchez.
Belle Sanchez.
This is about Garland Dulcinea Sanchez.
Why, you have all the money stuck to you?
Good question, Tom.
Do you know?
It's a tradition that they do. They put money on the niche.
You say Meniche?
Leisure.
Meniche?
And what is your role? What do? You dance?
Yeah.
Do you like it? Are you having fun?
Yeah.
Great.
And this is your first time, Bill? Are you sweating? Woo! We're gonna have food after this, aren't we? That's what she told me. Free food.
And guess how much my mom sold it for? $3,000. 3 acres of land, a big house. It had upstairs, the middle floor, and it had one of those basements.
Yeah.
We used to have all our food in there.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not scared of little
I've been coming to this place about 30 years. I've been dancing almost every part of it. I've been dancing as a abuelo for about 30. Now, but before that, I used to dance the part of the girl. I danced that for 7 years or so. Yeah, that's funny. And stay away. Stay away. It's mine. Hey, don't hit him! Come there! Try it again.
Maybe if you ask them nicely.
I don't know how to do that. Nothing has changed.
The Montachinas is a good symbol of bringing the community together. There's families here that have danced through generation after generation. It was always, well, that the great-grandfathers danced, and then the grandfathers and fathers and so on. And it's also an honor for the next generation of members of the community to dance. It's something that they bring upon in their heart to continue.
We're trying to get the kids involved so that the custom won't die, because as you know, the less people that come, things will vanish. You know, we'll lose our custom. They're not the only dancers, man. There must be a couple of hundred up here in the canyon that love to dance. Yeah. They dance this in every village up in the East Mountains, all the way starting from San Antonio, Tijera, Cedillo, Escobos, and Chile. They dance this in all the villages. It's been adapted everywhere. But this is where it started. This is the original place. This village of San Antonio is where the dancing started, and that's why this particular dance is called La Danza de San Antonio. It belongs to St. Anthony. They dance this in Thanksgiving.
UNM did a study.
San Antonio was a buffer community. 18th century Plains Indians raided Tijeras.
They claim many years ago, when we first started, Indians were raiding the village, and they said that St. Anthony helped them, to defeat the Indians.
To fight this, town grants were issued to Hispanics and detribalized Indians. Men would leave the village for periods of time to mine or hunt buffalo.
Many of the time the women would have to stay here and take care of the family. So many of these women were tough pioneer women who not only fought off Indians, took care of the family, did all the cooking and wood chopping and what have not, while the men were towards the east there hunting buffalo. So you had a good amount of very strong pioneer women that decided that this was their home. There was times where it must have been a difficult life when the people here were under Indian attacks and they had to make a decision whether to go to Albuquerque to live or to stay up here. But a lot of people chose to stay up here and fight it out. Life got better as time went on. But then, of course, you had developers who wanted the land, which made it as even difficult times as back then. Just fighting a different cause with different people. Back then, there was grazing rights that we still had from up here from the Sandias, which was part of the Carnuel land grant. The water feeding the people and the water feeding the animals, that's basically all we were all concerned about. Through time, we lost our grazing rights and we had to settle with other things that we had to do.
Bootlegging filled the void in 1924. It was corn whiskey made with spring water.
No matter how hard the times were or what obstacle hit us at the time, we tend to have found a way to compensate for that. I grew up here in San Antonio. I saw a two-lane highway, very narrow two-lane highway. And as time went on and more developments happened, well, all the decisions were made now to enlarge the highway to a four-lane highway. And at this time, it started becoming difficult as even crossing the road. For as more people came up here, it was hard for us to stay in the community and concentrate on the small area that we used to have before. But it has been a big change just in my lifetime, seeing the East Mountain progress as it has. And I kind of think that it will progress even more, but more should be set aside on taking care of what's already there and the resources that we have to protect first and then look for other solutions later.
It was proposed to go up for development. It's an 88-acre property, and it was going to be developed into 1-acre homes.
It would have destroyed this whole area. The purity of the water would probably be the first to go.
The developer tried to control poison ivy with herbicides, and it got into the water. He proposed to build a sewage treatment plant that incorporated Acequia.
They didn't see that the pristine use of this water.
The developer wanted to build housing on top of the church, but Reverend John Carney refused access.
The developer finally was met with a couple of people with shotguns, one being myself, the other being my brother, and we made sure that the development wasn't to go through.
The Acequia Association, however, put a stop to that by saying that that was going to interfere with the water and them maintaining that water, which they have legal rights to do so.
These Acequias go under the ancient Acequia law, and pretty much the law just states these Acequias shall not be disturbed.
And so when the developer was no longer able to access the water, it kind of thwarted his plans.
We're not worried about developers anymore.
And the community wanted to see it protected so that it would protect those cultural and natural resources and that living history that is still existing on the property today. We have a really unique but wonderful partnership with the Acequia Association there, who is the legal body that manages and maintains the Acequia, which provides water to nearby community, and have been doing so since, from my understanding, the 1700s. We purchased the property in 1998 through a mill levy, and now we maintain it, but always in cooperation and partnership with local citizens and groups.
Because only together it will stay preserved. The land goes with the water goes with the land. We all have to work as stewards to take care of this water together. Not just one individual can take on the responsibility. It needs to be taken care of by all of us. So if we all learn to enjoy our acequias and protect our acequias, it should last for several more generations to come.
Well, open space in general is all about the protection of land from development, and one of our vision statements, or the properties that we look to protect, have some kind of historical, cultural, and environmental significance to them. And what makes San Antonio so special is that it has all three of those components. It's got the environmental component with especially the water, the history of the orchard, and the wildlife component. The San Antonio church site, that is actually one of the oldest villages within this area. So the fact that we are able to preserve this today for future generations, and that it's a place that today the public can go to enjoy by walking along the hiking trails and learning about the birds in the area, the wildflowers, and all those things, make it an ideal open space property that really helps to increase the overall quality of health for our entire community, and I think that the community acknowledges and appreciates that.
Now, I've always been interested in the matachinas, and I used to, seems like you would get tired because it's the same play every year, but for some reason that's always something a little bit different, or some of the characters are different, and they tend to emote more the part that they're playing, and that makes it interesting. Well, I've been attending them for many years. Since I was young, that's over 50 years, and that's kind of dating myself, but there are some changes. There's not that much interest in things like it used to be. We're trying to encourage as much as we can to have kids join the matachinas and join the church choirs and playing the type of old music that we play for, like it's always been our tradition. And then once they realize that that's what it is, I'm sure they'll come around. Well, this has been going on for over 100 years, and I don't think it'll disappear. Hopefully it won't. And it's a real interesting ritual. We play and we sing, and Charlie Paul, he's been doing the entregas for a long time. He's very good at it. So he composes this song to St. Anthony that includes the names of everybody involved that are currently the mayordomos.
Mayordomos take care of the church, make sure the bulletins are out, the linens are changed. I was the mayordomo here for the last year. The church community up here is wonderful. Really take you in, and the traditions. I've never seen traditions like up here. Right now, I'm ironing the linen to change it because the color is going to change tomorrow for the new mayordomos. Today is our last day. I'm sure we're going to miss it.
We're receiving the saint, and we're going to be taking over the church as mayordomos. I've been involved with this church for years, and there are some other younger people that are, but it's just a dying tradition, sadly, in the younger generations. Well, I think it's kind of strange. I've always liked the tradition, and I was the matachina when I was little, and I'm Catholic, and this is a Catholic tradition. The saints watching over them is very important, and allowing them to watch over you and guide you is very important to me. But I hope that I can keep the tradition going and motivate my peers to keep going.
We must continue to do this in order to keep it alive. It'd be very easy to destroy this if several generations weren't allowed to perform the dances of the Matachina and also the tradition of blessing the water.